All right, we are live. Today we have a special guest, Shawn, and he is the Vice President of Business and does it Business Innovation. So it's the Economic Development Experience here at GCP. And Shawn, feel free to correct me at any point because you
Business
have
innovation
a
and growth.
role. So you have a big role as vice president, and there's a huge lot of business development in bringing business back to the greater Cleveland area. Tell us more about that and tell us about your role.
I've been with the partnership for 15 years, and I'm assuming nothing. I don't know how much people know about the Greater Cleveland Partnership, but we are the largest metro chamber of commerce in the United States with somewhere between 12,000 and 13,000 members. Most people know our cozy arm of the Greater Cleveland Partnership, which is our small business affiliate. And I work on, we obviously are one organization. We work on all projects, but I'm more focused on engaging with the larger employers in the region, trying to find out what their issues and opportunities are, and trying to be responsive to those needs.
Perfect. So knowing what the business's needs are really important, especially for the business success and to make sure that we're all getting along within the areas and that we can all thrive and help support each other. That being said, I know there's a big pull to bring more businesses into the downtown area. Tell us how that's going and what is really sparking that.
So it's on an uptick. I mean, through the pandemic, we saw retail businesses increase in the downtown area, but not solely. We obviously had the Sherwin-Williams announcement where they're going to invest $300 million and keep their headquarters in Cleveland, which was huge. We had the cross-country mortgage announcement that they would be moving their headquarters into downtown. So we want more business downtown because our Gen Xers, our Gen Zs, and our millennials want to be in a walkable environment where they can walk to work. Studies have shown that, and we've actually seen an uptick in population downtown. We're above 20,000 for the first time. And to put that in perspective, when you look at our peers in Columbus and Cincinnati, they're at 10,000 people living downtown. So there's always a push to have more businesses in the downtown area. It creates a more vibrant environment. It brings more retail opportunities as more people move downtown. It's a win-win for both the residents and the businesses.
Perfect. Yes. And so you speak about the newer generation getting downtown, and it's the hot spot to be, which definitely I can feel that. But what about the residents who are currently there? I think that's always a question on mind about the older generations and how has that been benefiting them?
So the pioneers.
Yeah.
I would say that it benefits them with more opportunities for work. We do have a mix of your younger generation moving downtown, but you also have people who are retired. So if and I would venture to say that most of the retired people who are moving downtown aren't moving downtown because they're concerned about more people downtown. So the people who live there, it just makes it more convenient for them to find opportunities. But again, they're looking for a walkable, bikeable environment where they can find restaurants and bars that they can attend and other people to engage with.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And one topic I know James and I have spoke about before, and we've also got James here, is about affordable housing in the downtown area that is supporting the businesses, supporting the people that are wanting to come down there, and supporting the pioneers that are already there as well.
Non-existent. No, I'm kidding. There are a few efforts downtown. I don't know how much you guys are aware of the Millennial Project, where they purchased the old Huntington building. They are setting up. Their goal is to put in affordable housing there, and that's for, maybe the people working at the clinic or people working, at some of the manufacturing sites in and about the area. There are efforts going on, and that is recognized. I don't have much more to say on that. I mean, all we see on the news is the expensive, riverfront properties that are going for 2,500 to 3,000 a month. Excuse me. But I do have an interesting story about that. So I was at a bar the other day and talking to a bartender who said they lived downtown and they lived on the East Bank, and they loved it. They said, "I can walk to work. I don't have a car, so that expense is gone. There's more people down here. I just love being in this environment." So, you're getting a real mix. I think the affordable housing, I mean, there's select areas throughout Cleveland. If you go to West 25th, there's a couple low income housing. If you go over to Reserve Square, there's some affordable housing. If you go to Prospect, so there are pockets of it. But obviously, most of the new development is focused on, I'll call it high dollar
Yeah.
folks outside of the millennium.
So, James, this is a great opportunity for you to chime in. I know with iSpace, definitely building some affordable housing. And I like that you mentioned the low income housing versus affordable housing are two different things.
Mhm.
And James, how is that coming in? And then, of course, you also have to tell us how you and Shawn know each other as well.
Well, first thing I want to say that we're the area that we're down the street from downtown. We're actually in Midtown, and so in the Midtown area, going towards University Circle, kind of sandwiched in between those areas on Opportunity Corridor, and and that's one of the reasons why uh, affordable housing came onto our radar when we were looking to move into that area, was because of all the construction going on, and with the new corridor coming through the area and demolishing a number of homes, that we thought would be an opportunity to address as we brought our business into that community, to have housing as part of it, so that we could, meet the demand that the neighborhood was asking for. We didn't want to displace people while we were moving in. We wanted to we wanted to try to support the neighborhood as much as possible. So 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 I think that we were able to do that with our proposal. Now the funny part about it is that we were looking to move into this area, and that's where we met Shawn. The GCP, the Greater Cleveland Partnership, they support companies like ours by giving us information, giving us access to people. So by meeting with them, by meeting with the city of Cleveland and the local community development corporation, we saw that there was a need for this housing, and so we decided to do our best to meet that need. So that's how I met Shawn, and he's been a great assistance to us as we are working towards moving our business into the heart of the city.
And
Yeah,
James,
so,
if I could can I just add a little bit to what James said?
yeah,
So the Greater Cleveland Partnership really considers itself to be really that bridge between the public and private sector. We obviously have a lot of businesses that have needs. So when we come on to projects such as James Project or others, the Sherwin-Williams Cross Country Mortgage, to Lincoln Electric out in the suburbs, we really play a role of quarterback in a lot of those projects, where we know all of the resources that are available to businesses. We help businesses put their project into what we call economic development language. And then we present that to the entities that have the incentives. We gather them and present them to the companies, and the companies pick and choose which ones they'd like to pursue. That's really been, one of my major roles over my 15 years at the partnership.
that's perfect. Yeah, and I definitely think that the middleman, so to speak, is being able to bridge all of those gaps. Uh, It's important because often so many times businesses are busy doing business that
Hmm.
they're too busy to go and make those partnerships.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how many companies we talk to who just have no idea of grant programs that are out there for them that they can leverage. Workforce is a big topic today, obviously, with every business, and the resources that are out there. So we try and connect, we try and stay on top of what programs are out there. And, through our newsletters and different things, we inform our members. And I'm saying members, but we really consider ourselves to be that voice of the business community. So we talk to all businesses that need assistance. If at some point down the road they see value in what we do, then we'd be happy to have them on as members. But that's not something that I push.
That's beautiful. So if a small business is needing help, they're not really even sure what kind of help they need. How would they get in contact to receive that assistance?
So they would go on to the website, or you can go to the cozy.org or the greatercle.com site and get contact information and reach out.
Okay, perfect. And we'll post those links under here once we wrap up today. So if you need those links, make sure that you check back, and we'll get those posted for you as well.
And I need to say this as well. We don't always have the answer. We do not always have a solution. But if there is one, we will generally find it. I mean, we work with loans, grants, energy grants, what have you. So, we really want to see the businesses grow and prosper in the region. And one of the ways that they can do that is trying to knock down those barriers for growth and connecting to programs to help them.
Yes, and that's just the beauty of networking, right? Reaching out, saying like, "Hey, I'm wanting to grow my business. I'm not really sure how. Can you point me in the right direction?" And it may be a grant, or it may be saying, "Hey, there's this other business that might be able to help you as well."
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. So next topic kind of teetered in there a little bit, but trying to maintain and retain this young development and smart people that are in the community. And we wanted to retain that talent and keep it in the area. How is all of this working together with affordable housing and the businesses? Tell us more how can we think about this?
So I said it before, the millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Xers all want to be in a cool urban setting. I look no further than my children to say, oh man, we'd love to go to Chicago or New York or some of these other places. But ultimately, they were connected to jobs and they stayed here. And I think that we need to do a better job of connecting our college students to opportunities that are going to keep them here. As we move more businesses downtown and create more opportunities, it doesn't just have to be downtown businesses. As we know, we've got, hubs of activity out in the suburbs as well, where a lot of businesses are. Our talent team within the GCP, we actually have internship programs where we're trying to connect college students to these companies. The best way to keep them is to give them an opportunity and a job when they graduate. That's not always the case, and some move out. It's not easy by any means, but I think if you go back into the history of what happened to the flats and the redevelopment, I think we're around the $12 billion number since 2010 invested downtown. And some of these efforts coming online, like Vision of the Valley being spearheaded by Bedrock, or Irish Bend, or the lakefront development, and even including the Browns in some of these conversations, and potentially moving the Brown Stadium. Who would have thought we'd ever be talking about that? But there are efforts to keep talent here and also to attract talent. Going on with various economic development organizations. I think what has happened in the last few years that we're doing better is that we're working together. We're not, the economic development, the private sector, and the the public sector, sometimes we're seen as being out on these islands. I see a lot more collaboration in these efforts, trying to work together on retaining talent, attracting businesses, retaining businesses.
And Izzy, that's one of the reasons why we chose to move into the city core was we thought that it was a better way for us to retain talent. You know, that we wanted to be an area that was close to downtown, close to University Circle, that they could easily get to their job and live in Cleveland, and also being close to our customer base. So it was an ideal world for all three by being in Cleveland, and with the support of GCP, you know, we're looking at incentives that would help bring us there. So all of that, as we're competing with other cities for businesses like ours, the city chipping in with support of other organizations, again, making it attractive for us to move to Cleveland.
Yes, and that's such a good point. Like when more of the businesses are together that are needing to support each other, it can facilitate them doing business much easier than it would be if they're across town or even in another city, of course. So, what are some of those incentives that are currently being offered to bring them into that core?
So it depends on which organization you're talking about. So again, assuming nothing, Jobs Ohio, when Governor Kasich took office, he privatized the Ohio Department of Development to a group called Jobs Ohio. And Jobs Ohio is a private sector funded by liquor sales, and they are the ones who offer incentives. They offer job creation, tax credits, economic development grants, low interest loans, and then that's from the state. If we're talking cities, City of Cleveland actually has some of the more favorable incentive programs where they'll offer also job creation tax credits, low interest loans, forgivable loans to a certain extent. They have a program called the VPI that's essentially forgivable loan for companies moving into vacant or buildings that have been vacant for, I'm going to get this wrong, but at least a year, could be 2 years. But again, you know, companies don't necessarily know all the programs out there unless they've been through this process before. So we will help them through the process. The county also has programs focused on low interest loans. And there's also grants to train new hires and incumbent workers that are out there as well at the local and state levels.
That's amazing. So grants available to help people get in, as well as these partnerships that can be made. And what's the incentive as well, maybe to support the sustainability of this continuing?
So I do need to preface that most of those incentives and grants that I talked about are tied to investment and job creation.
Okay.
Some of them are actually, you know, the county, depending on whether you're a minority owned or just a small business, they actually tie a dollar amount to a job. So for every one job you create, they'll loan you 35,000. Or, you know, the SBA that has a loan program for every job you create, they'll loan you 50,000. So, you know, to keep this sustainable, we have to have our education centers, private sector, not-for-profits all aligned so that we are making sure that the schools are producing, I don't want to call people with the skill sets that they need to keep them here, because ultimately we want to keep the businesses here and thriving. You know, there's a larger focus right now on smart manufacturing, which requires a higher skill set. You know, companies right now are so desperate for employees. They say, send us anybody as long as they show up, we'll train them. So, you know, we want to make sure that the skill levels of those folks coming out of high school are a little higher as well. And we actually work very closely. We're involved with the manufacturing sector partnership, an IT sector partnership, a healthcare sector partnership, and all focused on backfilling the pipeline of tomorrow's employees.
Love that. So that alignment is so important, but also this cycle of just filling in this, not only a pipeline, but this holistic view of how the whole city, as a business, education, employers, people, everything working in tandem together. I know James Bridgeport is definitely working on helping filling that holistic pipeline with working with places like Tri-C, to supply chain training, to now having iSpace opening up so that we can fill that. Um, do we know of any other companies in the Cleveland area that is kind of trying to fill a whole cycle like that, like Bridgeport?
I can't think of it. I think what they're doing is special, and I think that's recognized by the public sector in a lot of the conversations that we've had. I can't think of another. I mean, obviously, a lot of the businesses have training plans, but to train, to house, and provide some of the things that Bridgeport's doing, I think is unique to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it's unique in general, right? It takes a lot of effort, James, right?
Yeah.
What all has it taken to get that set up?
Yeah. Could you say the last part of that again?
How much effort and the
Oh,
planning to get all of those components set up?
well, it takes a while. It takes a little dedication. Luckily, we have a good team that helps us out a lot. But if I could just go back to the very beginning of this, when we were first,
Yeah.
we were sitting around talking about what was going to be the next phase of Bridgeport. We spoke to one of our uh, probably one of our largest target customers for this new space in Cleveland. And what they told us is that they wanted to connect. They wanted to connect better to the community. They wanted to have suppliers that were more sensitive to their needs. They wanted somebody who was willing to be closer to them. And they had a bunch of suppliers that were delivering similar services that like we were offering that were too big or too unwielding to offer these services. So by us willing to move into the area, provide these services, integrate with the community, they were very happy to see this because they looked at it as a benefit to them by us doing this and being partners with them as suppliers of them as they go forward. So, even though we want to say that we've done a lot of this because we saw the necessity of it to support the community by educating and housing and all these other different things, but it's also good business. So it helps us. It helps us help our customers.
Agreed. And I think that's a really core just value to have as a business, to listen to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that really seems what GCP is really doing, is really coming in and listening. So, Shawn, what would you say, as VP of this business growth, what are your main three objectives when trying to assist in all of this holisticness that's happening?
So first and foremost is to provide value to the businesses in the community. That is number one. If we're not being responsive to the business's needs, then we're not doing our jobs. And candidly, we wouldn't have many members. We do have products that they use, but and I said earlier, my second objective is really to engage with the larger businesses in the region. So to make sure that I am listening to learning more about their businesses and building the relationship first and foremost, but then addressing their needs. If there's a project, as was the case with James, connecting them to the proper resources to help make that project a reality. If there are hindrances to growth, whether it's, workforce, and I say that lightly, everybody has workforce problems right now. But when I first started at the GCP 15 years ago, we didn't have a talent team. Now our talent team is 8 people, and very focused on, creating that future workforce. I need to say this as well. Back when I first started, companies were all about location. That's all that mattered. Where are we moving to? It's all about location. Now it's talent. So, being really responsive to the businesses is another key. And then I would say my last one is getting the companies engaged in the community, in the economic development system. A lot of times, a lot of the businesses that I deal with have a CEO who will be gone in 2 years. So when they're gone, they were the only ones at times who was engaged with the Greater Cleveland Partnership. So one of my tasks is to make sure that we're getting more people in the organization engaged, because there's a lot of good stuff going on in the community right now. We just had our annual meeting last week. We had 1,300 people. It was the biggest one ever. And it was more or less focused on a lot of the development that's happening in the region right now. We had a panel with the Browns, Sherwin-Williams, and Bedrock Development, all talking about the projects that are going on and a lot of the great things that are happening in the region. So to answer your question, keeping an ear to the businesses, being responsive to their needs, and making sure that we're including the community in that, because sometimes that can get lost. Obviously, businesses drive a lot of the things that happen in the region, but without that community involvement, it's diluted.
Yeah, and I think that is such an important thing to mention, being involved in the community, but the whole business, or at least a broader portion of the business, being involved. So companies that can encourage their employees to be more involved in the community, rather than just, go to work, punch your card, and be done, and sit at home and just watch TV, right? But to like actually get out in the community and engage in those conversations, to advocate for the community to be better. And I know, James, like that was one thing that you all have really done with iSpace, is not to just plop another warehouse into downtown, but to really get out and talk to people and see what it is that they want and what they don't want as much as what they do want.
Well, again, right, I keep saying this to everybody that iSpace is the next generation of warehouse. It's really more of a platform that's going to support multiple services. So not only do we have the ambient space and the multiple temperature zones within the warehouse, we also have a delivery service. We also have other services that'll be in there in terms of that it's going to help support our customer and whatever needs they have at that warehouse. And so in doing all of that, we needed to talk to the community. What exactly do you need? So, and then we heard that, well, we need more training. So we decided we're going to bring training in. We've actually started that training at Tri-C. Eventually, it'll be at that warehouse where we can train people so that we can support the growth of logistics and warehousing in the Cleveland area. And so that talent will be there in case any other company wants to come there. There's a pool of talent that we're developing now. Of course, we're going to take advantage of a lot of that talent, but it's going to help build that talent for logistics and warehousing within Cleveland. And the reason why we're adding a housing component to it is because the people were afraid of we were the march of gentrification to the community. So we wanted to let people understand that we're going to be sensitive to the community that we're moving in. We're going to be a green facility so that we don't do any impact to that community. So all this is all through conversations with the community to understand what they thought should be coming into their community. We didn't want resistance, so that we have people coming there, and we have customers looking for us to help them with any concerns they have.
Yeah, and that's so fantastic because as you've both mentioned, really making sure that we are drawing people in to not only have businesses staying and moving downtown, but also or in that core, but to also have the people stay and to attract more people as well so that we can really inhabit the area and make it thrive, and not just have one or the other out of balance, but to really bring it into balance. Shawn,
Now,
what would you say, what's the trend of people, or not people, but businesses that are currently moving into this core?
So it, through the pandemic, it was more retail, honestly, but which is a good sign because retail follows population. Pre-pandemic, there were aspirations of the downtown Cleveland area growing to 30,000 residents, and I think that there has been no slowing down of apartments going up. So I think that you're going to continue to see that, and as I said before, now businesses are following talent as we get more of, our younger generation living downtown, and not just our younger generation. People in their 40s are moving downtown as well. Again, to experience, to be with people, to walk and ride their bikes to work, to go to a restaurant, all of these things. You're going to see that continue to grow. So especially when you think about our IT companies, and how transient they can be. Um, I think that people being allowed to work from home is both a good and bad thing, right? And I think we're seeing some of that as well. I think a lot of people don't realize how great Cleveland is at converting office space to apartments. We're one of the leaders in the nation at doing that. And I think that, if people continue to work from home, you'll see more conversions there and more retail go up. So it all depends.
Yeah,
mhm.
collaborative workspaces for sure,
Let
are a
me ask,
fantastic thing for our sanity.
Yeah.
Izzy, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Sure. Shawn, what do you envision for Midtown? Since Midtown is between downtown and University Circle, how do you see that developing? We see things going up there, but what's the vision, the overall vision for Midtown?
Well, anybody who's been up Euclid Avenue, so I remember when Euclid Avenue was first being redone, and all the complaints that happened, all the business owners complaining and going out of business. But I think when you look back at that, look at the investment that spurred. If you just go down Euclid Avenue, I actually met with Pierre's Ice Cream a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, and they said our employees bike to work. Our employees go outside for lunch now. And then you have the Link 59, you have the Dave's supermarket happening, and you see all the development. That's through Midtown is identified as the health tech corridor. So I see more tech business going into there. There's development happening as we speak. Magnet is moving its offices from Cleveland State down to that area as well. So I see nothing but growth and opportunity, just as we do on the opportunity corridor. Uh,
Mhm.
New opportunities for businesses, new opportunities for developers. I see nothing but growth, but we got to have the talent to support that growth.
Mhm.
Fantastic. So overall, what I'm hearing is we really need to, one, of course, encourage businesses to get with the GCP and take advantage of all the resources that are there, to listen to the community. And if you're not sure how to do that, I'm sure the GCP can also help you with how do you engage with the community and get involved.
Well, I mean, we were given that advice very early on when we were working with the GCP, was to engage with the community, and they were absolutely correct. That helped us, as this cloud that we were putting together of iSpace. it kind of helped us form that and having these conversations. And now, as we are on the precipice of of starting, hopefully by 2023, we'll be open. And but that was a critical point, and having GCP shepherd us through this process was critical to get us to the point where we are now. So
And one thing that people don't realize, so within the Cleveland and there are, it's almost like a little subsidies because we have all these CDCs. So when we're engaging with the communities, a lot of times we're engaging with the regional CDC. So Midtown has a CDC, Uptown, which is up by Case, Fairfax, which is where Opportunity Corridor goes through. You've got a St. Clair Superior. So you have all these sub CDCs within the community that do a lot of community engagement as well and are really focused on their respective territories. So we always encourage businesses to get involved with their CDC. We try and be as inclusive with our partners as possible to make sure that we're aligned and that we're not missing anything.
Fantastic. And then we're also saying too, within all of this, that education needs to be really considered to be put at the forefront as well. And that includes businesses can get involved by offering internships that are providing benefit to both education and the businesses.
Well, one fact that a few years ago I was at a seminar and they were talking about the development in Cleveland, and they were comparing us with a city like San Antonio, and they said San Antonio can develop a lot faster than Cleveland, only because it's only San Antonio and they have one central city. Cleveland is unique in the sense that you have these two hubs in University Circle and Cleveland proper. That are both, I shouldn't say fighting for resources, but competing for the same resources. So it's just taking us a little longer. When you talk about the Midtown Health Hub Corridor or Opportunity Corridor, we're really working from the outside in, kind of the dumbbell approach, focused on the, University of Cleveland. And then, at some point they'll meet. And I think that you see some of that happening right now. And it's pretty spectacular. I did want to bring up one more thing. So Beju Shaw is our CEO, our new CEO, started last April. And we're focused on 5 pillars of business development. One is dynamic business, which is where I sit. Which is really outreach to our businesses. Also, innovation sits under there. We need to be innovative in our region on how we approach things. We also need abundant talent, which is our second pillar. We touched on that. Our third is inclusive opportunities. All boats rise with the rising tide. We need to make sure that we're inclusive of all peoples in the region if we're truly to be successful and if we're truly to strive. We also are really focused on appealing community. That's more of our real estate efforts and, getting neighborhoods involved. And then our last one is business confidence. You have to have confidence in the businesses if we are going to grow, if those businesses are going to expand in Cleveland. So I just wanted to take a minute and go through really the 5 pillars that we operate under. I'm not going to bore everybody and go through the 14 strategies that are under that. But yeah, we're really aligned with our partners. When we talk about alignment, we take it very seriously, and that's one of my jobs, to align with our partners in the economic development ecosystem. So the TMEOs, the magnets, the Fund for the Economic Future, the CDCs, really looking for alignment on all fronts. And this is a very unique time for Cleveland. We have a new mayor. Next year we're going to have a new executive director for the county. So this is really a prime time for change in Cleveland, and we need to take advantage of that. And our leaders recognize that, and they're making sure that everybody's in alignment on what direction Cleveland is going.
Amazing. So now is the time. Now is the time for everyone to begin putting those 5 principles into place. I think those are beautiful principles that if we could all come together and make them the motto, there could be some really rapid rapid changes in the positive direction, benefiting everyone.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I agree.
Well, thank you guys both so much for joining me today on this chat. This was super enlightening. It's very inspiring as well, just to see so much benefit, so much heart, so much alignment and holistic approach that's happening, as well as the listening and the community involvement and just overall support. I think that would be the biggest word to summarize today is support. Um, in that, is there any final touches that you want to add onto our conversation?
I would say, from my vantage point, get involved. So many people sit on the sidelines and complain. Be part of the solution. Contact your local council person, contact the GCP, get involved. We need to hear your voice, so that we can act on it.
Yes, and it's not that you're going in it alone, right? The support is here. The businesses are supporting other businesses. GCP is there to support. So it doesn't have to be this like daunting task of trying to make the community better. Like you get to do it together and it becomes easy and it becomes beautiful and it can even be fun as well.
It's the residents and the businesses that make cities great. And when you can get them working together, that's the ultimate goal.
It's wonderful, wonderful. And I think this is definitely a model that other cities can tune into. So for anyone that's not in Cleveland to look at this model or to even say like, wow, let's give them some support in some way that we can as well. All right. Well, thank you guys. And hopefully we'll see you again. I know James will see you again. Shawn, I'm sure we'll see you again in the future as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.